Though some people might say, this is the worst movie I've ever seen, Terrifier 3 is the best Terrifier movie to date. If you're in on the joke and can appreciate extremely disturbing low-budget practical effects, it's going to be joyous. Terrifier 3 is a Christmas movie and a horror movie, so you can watch it on 2 holidays. There's a scene where the hero is wearing a crown of thorns and the villain is wearing a Santa hat, so there's even some loose religious imagery involving the struggle between good and evil, but the Terrifier movies are, at the end of the day, gore porn. The audience is there for the kills, and it puts its own repulsive twist on the holiday season. The series is uncompromisingly sadistic, which makes it better when it leans into humor. The more cartoonish the violence is, the better. The point of watching this is not to revel in the pain of Art's victims who are dismembered piece by piece, but to appreciate the work that went into the visual effects. Legendary effects artist Tom Savini makes a cameo. Terrifier 3 is on another level from the films which it's inspired by. It's the logical evolution of the slasher mascot horror film, which began with Texas Chainsaw Massacre and extended to Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, and many others. The ratings board cut Savini's work to pieces on Friday the 13th, and now Terrifier 3 contains all the elaborate kill scenes fans of fake blood and guts have dreamed of. With an emphasis on surreal visuals, the Terrifier series feels like Nightmare on Elm Street without the one-liners. It's even more extreme than the independent works of Troma Studios, which rely heavily on humorous gross-out content. I still enjoyed Terrifier 3, even if it made me feel a little sick. Writer-director Damien Leone conceived of his mascot horror character Art the Clown in a series of short films called The Ninth Circle and Terrifier, which were compiled together with an alien story and a wraparound segment for an anthology called All Hallows Eve. A feature-length Terrifier became infamous for its depiction of a woman being sawed in half from her panties down to her skull in explicit detail. The effects are low budget with quick edits to disguise the prosthetics. The acting in the first movie is bad, and the characters have no depth. 2 drunk girls are killed and their friend shows up later and becomes the final girl, though she is horrifically mauled. By the end of the second movie, the final girl, Victoria Hayes, becomes a villain, and Art is definitively established as a supernatural demonic entity, not just a serial killer in a clown costume. By the third film, he can walk around without his head. The main character fights back against Art using a magic sword while dressed in fantasy cosplay, like in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Terrifier 2 and 3 lean into the campier elements, like the time the Friday the 13th franchise brought back Jason from the dead with a lightning bolt. Friday the 13th was at its best when it had actors like Crispin Glover and Corey Feldman playing interesting characters. Terrifier 2 introduced Lauren Lavera's character, Sienna, who is given compelling motivation and nuance. Her acting is good, and she gives the audience a sympathetic character to root for, so the movie doesn't completely devolve into torture porn. The acting is better for the side characters as the series goes along. Clint Howard makes a cameo as a drunk at a bar. He gets a bullet to the head, which is the most merciful death in the movie. In the first 15 minutes, a child is dismembered off screen, but we see the results. A blue-collar worker has his face peeled off, Santa Claus gets urinated on, a douchey best friend takes a chainsaw up the ass. I'm not going to be showing unedited clips for any of this. I can understand why someone would walk out by the time you get to that scene with the rats. Another scene involves masturbation and broken glass, words that should never go together in a sentence. Terrifier 2 ran too long at 2 hours and 18 minutes. It featured an extended dream sequence early in the movie which could have been cut down. The ending set up Terrifier 3, adding to the runtime but suggesting an epic scope. This one ends with a cliffhanger as well. Damien Leone has been making the same low-budget movie over and over his entire career, slowly honing and improving it. Terrifier 3 has the biggest budget yet at $2 million and has outperformed the Joker sequel financially. It's good to see a small filmmaker succeed while a big studio blunders. Even if the movie is a vile, twisted fantasy, at least it's not a musical one.